Hello, FACEIT fans. More North American action coming your way. And it's the big one. We've got Toronto Defiant against FMCL. Toronto Defiant, their last match pre-Dallas. FMCL very much been in the chasing pack. We've seen FMCL improve quite a bit over time. They've gone through a couple of roster changes. They brought in Z-Man most recently, who really seems to have helped them level up. Obviously bringing in Admiral earlier as well. So a bit of an upgrade in the backline in both departments there for FMCL. And they'll be taking on the mighty Toronto. So the big question for FMCL is, how close can they get to Toronto? In North America, it's always the top two. Toronto this, M80 that. But what about FMCL? What about the rest of the gang? How far can they push them? On the Toronto side, it's Dallas time. How good are Toronto looking as they go into Dallas? What comps are Toronto playing? Get a little bit of sneak peek at some of them here. So, interest on both sides. I can talk you through the map bans so we know the state of play. Toronto will ban Nepal, FMCL ban Busan. So Oasis, which seems to be very much a map in vogue as of late, will be picked by Toronto. Then FMCL will ban Hollywood, Toronto will ban Ike. Then Midtown is picked by FMCL. Then Toronto ban Shambali, FMCL ban Junkertown, which means it's a Route 66, potentially a dive finish if we get there now. Interesting that they opted into the Junkertown ban instead, because it feels like last time we watched FMCL, they had real struggles on Route 66. The nature of it is quite a dive-friendly map. We might well see Toronto play some version of that compare. And FMCL struggled last time. Ariel was not a Winston player by trade. And without access to something like that, it can make Route 66 a very difficult map. So, yeah, I mean, we'll have to wait and see if we get there first. But it might be a tricky one for FMCL. But we'll see how much they've improved since last time they played that map. So, the state of play is set. We can kick it off. And we can jump straight in here. Toronto, familiar faces. You know them. They're on the left-hand side of your screen. FMCL will be on the right-hand side of your screen. We'll be going to Gardens first. And already we're seeing a bit of diversity. A Pharah on one side, a Genji on the other. We've seen Toronto playing this type of competition before, Genji, Mauga. Generally, what they've been doing is Sugarfree will dash in, lead the way, lead the charge for his team. Try and force resources. Meanwhile, someone will come in half a second later, stomp on someone. But we're going to get 0 on Pharah for this as well. So Pharah, Sojourn, definitely gives them the frontline advantage here in these big, brawly Mauga matchups where it could just be two Maugas barreling into each other. They do have that frontline advantage, but Sugarfree's going to have to do a lot of work to disrupt that. Initially, both teams biding their time before peeking out here. Scary once you go out in the open. Slow and steady. Bullets being traded from across the map. Going to be a move onto point initially for Sugarfree. Admiral's going to try and match, but a scarier time for Lucio than it is for a Genji. Admiral and Ariel coming to match it now. It'll be a fight through point, but Merit's going to use that opportunity to take the high ground. Wants to swing it aggressively. Magnetic Grenade will connect. No kills, though. They're peeking Merit from all sides. They're kind of pinned in here, FMCL, if they force the cap. And there goes that slam, there goes that engage, and Merit is lurking outside. Finishes off Z-Man, that's the main source of healing gone, and now they can probably just play front to back. They've lost someone, actually. Now Ariel can come on point, tank advantage, even though they can see that first flip. Merit's going to have to give space. He's still a threat. And he will go to the high ground one more time, looking for more, but Zera's trying to mark him. Boops him off, finishes him thanks to Ariel, but Sugarfree. RuPaul, they come back, they're not quite done yet, but the Mauga is so sturdy. He cannot be displaced. RuPaul will be finished off. They can drop and contest this here. And they should be okay. Ariel's going to drop defensively. Oh, actually, Sugarfree. Sugarfree and Vega want to make a money move. Admiral trying to give him the slip. Just regroup with his backline. Meanwhile, Ariel and Z-Man take care of that Mauga one more time. And FMCL are going to flood back into the point, keep hold of that cap, and take an even bigger lead on this first round. Now we're getting to the ult portion of the fight. Worth saying, Ariel has an 18% cage advantage. The ult trade's so important in the Mauga mirror. A really macro-heavy matchup. But for now, no rush to kick anything off here. They can keep playing on point, make Toronto make the first move. Barrage in the back. Oh! Deflect kill gets it. Beat over the top. FMCL will respond, but they are a man down. A major source of damage down. And Aerial is so low. Kitsune rushes will be traded, but it ends up being a disaster there. Hard to start with the barrage in these situations. Normally you see the barrage followed a little bit more aggressively with the Suzu to keep Zero through that, but the nature of it can be really tricky to start with barrage because everyone still has their cooldowns. If you maybe trade for Kitsune Rush's trade for beat a barrage finisher, I think I would have liked to look at that a little bit more. Either way though, the big ult fight goes the way of Toronto. We have cages in play, and we have a Blade, the overclock situation, and Zero going to try his hand up at Genji as well. Holding on to the high ground, Sugar Free will be keeping point contested. Imagine Toronto also won't be keen to make the first move here. Aerial's going to tiptoe onto point first. Seeker swings with Rail, but can't find the connect. Now the overclock over the top. Seeker takes the grapple shot. Cage shoots in response. Now the Blade comes back. The Blade has been caged. But who's locked in with who? It seems everyone is locked in with Sugar Free. The nature of the cage fights is if you want to take a cage fight, you force everything to happen within the cage. That's how cages work. But if you trap everyone in a cage, you never want to get in a cage fight if you think you're going to lose the cage fight. You have to be able to win the fight within the cage. And ultimately, when Aerial caged back there, he maybe sealed his fate because he is stuck. He's stuck in there with a scary man with a big sword. You don't want to lock yourself in a cage with that. They didn't have the ults to respond to, so really could have done with trying to avoid that one or disengage or get out of the cage if they could. Now Toronto will take the lead. In control of a point, Aerial will tiptoe onto it as well. Takes a lot of damage coming in and can be hard to recover that, but someone wants to make the aggressive move. They just smash Seeker before the Kitsune Rush can come out. High Noon now forces them to deep-peek in this Kitsune Rush, and they've traded High Noon for Kiri, and now a much later Kiri ult from RuPaul should seal the deal. FMCL have been outplayed in the macro game. Outplayed in the macro game but fight before. I mean, and ultimately there, the danger of Mauga Genji is if the stomp and the dash hit at the same time, people can just get one shot. People can just get obliterated. Exactly what happens to Seeker right there. And before they know it, FMCL are being forced to take a big ult trade without one of their main men. We'll see what we'll get here. Pharah's been used quite a lot on this one as well. Again, fighting in this open platform area that we're looking at now is pretty viable. And pretty good for Pharah. Risk get boops off. We've seen Lucio's get constant boop value in these scary stairs. So close to the edge, so vulnerable. And a stomp, a dash, a Pharah concussive mind going to make it all the scarier. Both teams coming. Later charge from Aerial means he gets up there. Actually, Toronto opt out of it. Don't want to play up there if a Pharah's there. Vega will catch a full rocket from across the map. And Zero will continue the onslaught. We see someone has positioned himself on the opposite side of a point here. And FMCL are going to wrap around, come from Toronto's main, essentially. Toronto will match for rotation and regroup. Still trying to play this angle. Someone will put his feet on the point first. That capture progress ticking up. We'll be forced to just commit the run there. Aerial's going to do the same just to try and avoid some of that damage. Reset some of the burn. Suzu comes out first, but Aerial loses that HP trade. Again, you'll see both Maugas be pretty careful because once that HP trade starts, if you're losing it, you're probably always losing it. Now the stomp comes in and it's 1-for-1 actually. Lucio's dispensable. Forget about Lucio's. But Toronto have control of the point. Kitsune Rush is really close. Z-Mans is actually a little bit closer. I don't know if they realize it here, but they lose Seeker. Merit finds the pick across point. And now FMCL, they have to get out. Dash to finish him off. Sugar Free and Merit with a cleanup. Merit with a crucial pick. And Toronto in a pretty good position. Kitsune Rush is available. Cage is soon. We'll see Seeker swap onto the Cass as well. Beats are actually quite slow as both Lucio's died in that previous fight. And it looks like Merit wants to swing early with High Noon here. He's considering it. There we go. Doubles down. High Noon around the corner. Kitsune Rush back, but no. Zero gets the finish. No more High Noon. And this Kitsune Rush comes in, but Barrage over the top will finish it. That's maybe how we wanted to see that ult trade go a little bit more on the previous round there, with the Barrage partway through once the Suzu has been forced and traded. If that Suzu's been used, your answers for Barrage are just try and shoot it real quick. And As such, it often gets a lot of value. So this time, FMCL coming out on top on the ult trade, and it's going to be a beat and cage off. Sugar Free has a blade to throw in there as well. Cage will be initiated by Toronto. Now the blade over top. Counter blade and beat, but Vega has a much later beat here. Seeker's going to high noon. He's trying to get it off. He gets one, but gets himself as well. They're still trading here, but I think Toronto had the advantage. And we maybe see a little bit of the same there with a cage blade. The cage blade, a very lethal combo. I wonder if Seeker could have positioned himself in a way where we get the overlap in circles. If Seeker was here, could he have just stayed out of both cages and charged up a load of heads? Potentially. Potentially that might have worked a little bit better. But once he gets caught in the initial cage, that option is no longer available for him. Now the retake. 0 on the Genji again. The rest of Toronto playing in main. Kitsune rushes nearly up one more time. Stomp. Oh, counter stomp. They counter pin each other. Zero's going to deflect to help with that trade now as well. Sugar Free has lurks his way behind. Dashes all the way through, but they've lost someone on point. And this should be an easy flip for FMCL in the end. Might just play for trades. Vega's going to get one more touch. Merit's found a trade, actually. Merit considering High Noon and Kitsune Rush. They want to win right here, right now. Still charging it. Damage onto Aerial with the Kitsune Rush pocket coming through. Suzu will help him up. They've got the flip. Someone is back now, but at the expense of Vega. And are Toronto going to regret investing ults into that? They try to clutch. It's not over yet. Someone will keep peeking Aerial. Aerial has to Suzu and Overrun away. Both Magos will now reset. And Toronto committed their ults for that. It's going to be a Blade v Blade situation, but Admiral was closer to beat. Aerial was closer to cage. Toronto might not get the ults in the time. They need to try and get out of one of these ults. FMCL can even wait for cage if they want, if Toronto take their time. Toronto are moving now. Try to bait out the cage there, but someone misreads it. I think they think Aerial had cage already, which is why he ran back so quickly, but he doesn't. Now the blade in and Sugar Free ceases to exist. One shot, decimated by Seeker. They beat it anyway. But now, one final ult trade. Kitsune rushes will be available. No beat now for Admiral, of course. But Zero does have that blade. Seeker has the High Noon to throw in. Merit just behind. It's going to be another big ult trade. But someone doesn't have the cage yet. So if Aerial can just drop this cage and they can burn through someone, they can deny that possibly. Want to be aggressive here if they can, FMCL. There's the cage. Someone is caught. High Noon beating back. There they come. High Noon in response. Seeker with it. Deadeye kill. Now they come through the blade to finish it from Zero. Tidy blade at the end from Zero to clean that one up. 4 for him. And FMCL send us to a 3rd round. Again, we see Zero using his ult as the finisher in that situation. And I think it works out a lot better.
Score 1-1.
And all right, seems like it's going to be blow for blow in this one. Blow for blow.
Ready for battle.
We'll see if we get the same here. Obviously, dive has been the choice for a lot of teams in this particular map because it's so open, it's so big. We've also seen a lot of the sort of the original Falcons comp where it's like a Diva, a Cast, Torb. It seems like it's Mauga time. Interesting that Genji has become the go-to choice for both of these teams. Obviously, we've seen the Genji be pretty effective at dealing with the High Noon. We've seen the Genji be pretty effective at dealing with the Barrage. And also, you can deflect in front of the Mauga to reverse some of that frontline trade as well. Thank you very much, Fallen Aims, for the tier 1, 4 months in a row. 4 months. Overwatch action. High ground will belong to FMCL initially. Zero will be a top point. And Toronto are going to take themselves to cards. Someone is anchoring the point. Seeker's going to take a more aggressive position. Seeker has opted for the Sojourn here instead of a Cass. A bigger open map. Seeker playing for an angle. Playing for an opportunity. He's got a rail. All he needs to do now is find a face to click on. Holding onto the rail now. Takes it. Body shot onto Sugar Free. Suzu has been forced. Seeker can get another rail going now. Obviously, the Mauga enables a lot of it. He uses his slide, so someone tries to respond. Aerial with a counter slam. Taking a quick peek for the Genji. Just trying to burn through, but it's Merit who comes back. That's where the Cass has the advantage. Once the fight breaks out, the Cass just gets to shoot. And Merit is shooting. 4. One more Merit. The ace. Let him have the ace. Oh, Vega has no respect. They win the fight, though. Seeker's gone Widow in spawn here, just hoping someone will stick their head out, but now makes his way over to the Cass. And it feels like both of these teams very much feel if it's Amalgam Mirror, the Cass is the way to go. Kitsune Rush available for RuPaul. A little bit quicker than Z-Man, so they have to be careful walking up here FMCL. They can't quite commit just yet. They need one of these ults before they go all in. They're going to come through car side. Just trying to vie for space. Someone's going to be there to meet them. They're going to tiptoe onto point. They're easy enough to keep it contested from the opposite side, just like someone is doing right now. Z-Man now has the Kitsune Rush. Admiral has the beat. Quicker blade though, and oh, RuPaul, they've just found Seeker. Kitsune Rush comes through anyway. They can play this slow but deflected High Noon. Merit takes himself out of the game. Later Kitsune Rush now, but Admiral's going to beat forward. Vega will match the beat. Sugar Free has the blade to finish. He's all over Z-Man. Z-Man TP's away, looking for the finish. Suzu is good. One more slice. Eventually gets his man. Now has a Malga to deal with, but he's got his big old friend, someone to help. And they win the trade. That quicker blade ends up paying dividends. But now a very tricky situation Toronto find themselves in. They've got the cage, sure, great. But so does Aerial, and they've got the blade to commit with it as well. So someone has to try and bait out the cage. Obviously, if you can start your overrun before the cage comes down, you just get to walk out of it. That's what someone's going to try and do here. So a game of cat and mouse between the two Malgas, while both teams try and take space. And it's a slightly split push coming out. Aerial and Zera coming through point. Aerial's going to try and stomp on the Genji, but doesn't have the opportunity. Zera's going to be forced to dash back to team here. Will regroup. 92% encounter, and FMCL need to win this fight. They come through. Someone's coming away. Oh, he's already running. Aerial messes up the cage, but then someone cages back. They can still go with... They're going with High Noon. Blade to finish is an option. High Noon first filters them all back, and maybe they've done enough. They're trying to keep the health advantage. Merit is behind them. They have to respect that. They want to finish this Malga, though. Someone's going to try and get out, but Sugar Free's in the back. They've got tank advantage, though. Oh, they've lost the flip as well. And they're going to blade. Kitsune Rush comes out. Zera takes loads of damage. Has to get top back up. Will try and go for it, but dealt with. Vega and Merit handle that one, but here comes Aerial beat. Kitsune Rush. FMCL are throwing the bank at it, but they need to find a way to kill Merit. The stomp doesn't quite connect in time. Now someone is back on Doom, but they're still on this Kitsune Rush. For Malga. So strong, so powerful. He cannot be moved. Seeker will die one more time. It's not over yet. Someone with a punch. They're trying to force through the kill onto Aerial. Now the beat over top. Someone is solo for Suzu back. Aerial's health is only going up, though. FMCL have stayed in it. Just for support line now. RuPaul is low. Surely he goes down. Vega is dancing and juking around, but Toronto's efforts will be prevented. But it was so important that they got the flip. So important they got the flip, because otherwise they'd be on about, what, 50% by now or something, maybe? Instead... they're only stuck on 15%. A long way to go. Sugar Free has the blade. Aerial has the cage. Have to be conscious if you want to lock that Genji in with you here. The fact that Toronto don't have their own cage, I'm not certain, but I think Aerial can just cage this and they just kill the Genji if he blades them. Like if Sugar Free wants to start the fight, lock him up. Slow and steady though. RuPaul about to have that Kitsune Rush, which would swing the cage fight favor massively in Toronto's favor. But they're going to start with Blade, actually. Here comes Sugar Free. Stomp over the top. There's the cage. Trying to DP. Can't burn through a lot of Aerial's health. Seeker is in there, though. Exploiting the cage. Someone will fall. It's a good cage in the end. They lost Seeker on the way. But Seeker got so much damage in there. The choice to flank there from Seeker ends up making a massive difference in converting those kills. And we're getting to last fight territory. And look at this. 2 support ults on the side of FMCL. Only 1 on the side of Toronto. Zera's made his way onto Sojin during all of this as well. So just a double hit scan. Super shooty. Really aggressive in that frontline trade. Need to try and cheat one of these support ults, Toronto. They can't just take the straight trade. They should lose it. Now the Kitsune Rush comes back. Toronto going to match it. The beat is available for Admiral, though. They can go. High Noon swing. Beat to keep going. They're all in the corner, but High Noon does so much. Seeker takes him. Takes him outside. Shoots them all in the head in one swift go. And FMCL, they've got it. Is there any touch? Someone's going to try and do a rollout, but there's no rollout from this. There's no rollout from here that'll get you in there in time. And FMCL find themselves ahead against Toronto. We'll move into Midtown. And Toronto, in a rare situation for them, they find themselves a map down. A map down. Imagine that for Kings of North America. A map down against FMCL. But you have to say, the way FMCL won, a lot of good macro victories there. It's one thing to win if your players can pop off, you can hit the right number of heads in the right order consistently enough. But to win through the macro as well is really a huge boon, actually, because it's probably more of an indicator of how well you go through the series. And it looks like it's going to be Sigma, Bap, and Cass Lucio on the defense here. I don't know if we'll see too many differences. Ariel's going to choose the Ram into this. Seeker onto the Venture. So Venture Genji. Sounds like they're going to go aggressive. Sounds like they want to walk past this Sigma. The Venture playstyle, we can take a peep at it. But generally, burrow underneath, get behind that Bap, get behind that Cass, and drill dash them back to your team. Hit them with a clobber. Oh, here we go. Drill dash. Seeker's got the rollout through the fire truck. Gets rocked on his way out. They've also lost Zera here, actually. But oh, look where RuPaul is. Not where he wants to be at all, but Sugar Free has done so much. He's found the trades for his team. And this is something, when we will look at some of the earlier metas with Sugar Free on Tracer more often, this is something he is so good at. When the other team pushes in aggressively, they try to make an attack on the backline. They're going to try to push. Sugar Free finding these late trades, harassing the backline, trading the kills, allows Toronto to clutch so many situations that would otherwise be out of their reach. Something all the good Tracers do so well, something Kevster does really well for Ents, but certainly one of Sugar Free's biggest strengths for this team. Dash going to come through. They're burrowing as well. Everything coming on. Someone will take a step back. Hit the rock. Now needs to matrix his way out. Pulse bomb is good from Sugar Free. He's at it again. And they deal with this. So the general idea against the Sigma, as we watch the cleanup here, the general idea if you're a Sigma and you're playing against a Mauga, is the Mauga's going to run and try and be aggressive. Scary. You're the Sigma. You shield off the rest of the team. You make the heals awkward. You make their hit scan if they have one awkward. You turn around, you rock the Mauga after he's charged, so he's stunnable. Your team does a load of damage. That Mauga then presses Cardiac Overdrive. Then you Matrix. You Matrix all of the heals. You deny him that self-heal, and you can actually put a lot of burst on the Mauga, maybe even sometimes kill him. That's generally the go-to way you want the cooldown trade to go. Not always possible, though. And Seeker is going to swap onto the Cass here. The Venture Adventure is no more. Kitsune rush into start. Window in the back now. Trying to keep their space here. RuPaul and Merit. Flux comes through. The beat to save everyone. Merit's going to throw it. They have the window with it, so Seeker will just die. Now the beat to keep going here. Stop over the top. They're still pounding into this backline. Merit is so low. Admiral is all over him. Ariel is all over them. Zero is 1 HP, but has the deflect, and Z-Man's got the pocket. Sugar Free desperate for these trades, but full pocket means they should be safe for now. But backline has kind of stabilized here. Somehow Vega and RuPaul find themselves out of that one. So the Reket test, potentially not impossible. Sugar Free can get the first touch. They're making swing with High Noon, but they've got to deal with Cage and Blade coming back. Might be worth going for Toronto if they could just get the ults out, but they don't really have someone there in time. So they'll hold close at the choke. Still a very difficult ult situation for Toronto to manage here. Ideally, if you're FMCL, can you win it with one? Maybe. Maybe not. They could maybe start with High Noon, try and bait some kind of High Noon trade. And then Blade over the top. Ariel will be regrouping with his team. Needs to get top back up before they go. Toronto continues to hold this choke aggressively. Blade over top. Zero is half HP. There's the Cage. Someone is locked in behind him to try and buy him space and time. Somehow, someway, someone lives. A Merit behind him outside the Cage. It's so powerful. So powerful because you charge up all your shots. Obviously, the enemy team can't leave the Cage either. But Zero is not done yet. Zero wants to win. I don't normally do this, but I think we need an action replay. Blade in, gets rocked, gets denied. Then no Blade. RuPaul's just standing there. Gonna regret that one dash. Then can he clutch up? 1v2. Oh my god, how did he one-shot Sugar Free from there? Jesus. And Zera clutches it for his team. Alright, Zera. That's one way. We talked about the macro win you were having a little bit on that Oasis, but that was just straight up. What if I'm good enough at Genji to just solve all our problems? Now double support ult available for FMCL. Vega has the beat to match, defensive flux, defensive window, and that pick on Admiral is going to put FMCL in a tricky position because they're committed here. Someone knows it as well. Someone wants to walk on them, can get so much damage. FMCL make their way back to point. Admiral is now respawned. FMCL, they're coming another way here. Someone's going to match it as well. Flux in there. Tries to catch him, will catch him. They don't want to use the beat, but Seeker will die. The rock is good as well. Someone's done so much damage. And he'll just clean everything up here. Admiral did have the beat. I think they thought they could live, though. Seemed a reasonable decision, but someone's able to find the damage through and they'll get full reset. Now only a minute and a half on the clock. Still both support ults, though, for the FMCL side. They'll have a Blade as a potential finisher as well, so they can close the distance pretty quickly. They just have to get past this first initial scary rotation. RuPaul can drop a window as well, so they might just go through it. Kitsune rush. They can go through this window. Zera's going to keep going. Dash through. They beat over top, but Toronto are already kind of out. This beat is going to get minimal value here. And Toronto have robbed the bank near a window for both support ults. Nobody dies. Now Vega has beat advantage. They come back. Z-Man's going to immediately die. Someone at it again. Aerial's going to play for the trades here. They all avoid the stomp. Zera's still looking for more. Thinks he can do it again. It forces the beat, to be fair, which might not be the worst trades in the long run. We'll be fighting Vega. Vega's got to be admired for his confidence. But Zera's going to deal with that one, no problem. Now coming back. Overclock nearly there for Seeker, occasionally there for Aerial. You can do this combo if you get them both up. Put them in the cage. Let Seeker just let off rail after rail after rail. But 15 seconds left and they have to touch the cart. Look where the cart is now. It's rolled back a little bit and it actually makes FMCL's life easier. They also need to make sure they don't get pulse bombed. Sugar Free loves a trade. Zera's going to go get the touch. Now here it comes. Overclock early on. They try and focus down Sugar Free first. They try and come high ground. Admiral looks for a boot, but Aerial doesn't make it up. They're super split now. Seeker has to regroup on team, but Zera's made a play onto the high ground. Someone's going to deal with that one. Oh, and it's a messy way to finish it. The Flux is dodged by Aerial. Seeker's going to make one more desperate slide in. The lamp is still there for RuPaul, though. Now Merit drops for High Noon in the 1v1. And they'll finish it. And oh boy. Oh boy. Disappointing final fight to finish it. I think slightly different ideas. I think the expectation was maybe that Aerial and Admiral would both take that high ground. Try and hit a stomp, hit a boop or something that sets up a kill for Seeker. Reasonable enough idea, but really doesn't come out like that in practice. So we'll move on to the other side of it. We have to bear in mind that not only did they not complete second, the cart only got just out of a bridge, and this is a really awkward area to contest it. If you can get it here or something, you get a bit of breathing room. But contesting it here means you have to actually hold so aggressively. You have to essentially hold this corner, but still try and hold for high ground. It would be awkward for FMCL if and once they get to that point. They've not got a lot of space to work with. Midtown second, if you can keep holding that high ground, it's quite defendable. Obviously, we literally just saw Toronto do it. So it's not impossible. But a good first point will be integral here as well. Mauga Genji the choice again. Seeker will be on the Cass.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Looks like Sigma is the answer for Toronto again.
Defend objective A.
We'll meet on this choke. Now, generally, FMCL's comp wants to play more aggressive, but it can be a little bit trickier on defense to find the perfect timing to go. Toronto going to consider rotating. Aerial fakes it out there, actually, so he just get rocked, but he gets rocked with his team. They lose Admiral, though. Merit's just found the pick. Said that a fair few times today. Another stop comes in. FMCL are doubling down. They need kills. They need them fast. Seeker's going to take the duel with Merit in-house. Seeker's going to win it. But they've lost Aerial in the meantime, which means Seeker is going to be overrun. Z-Man looking for a TP out. Does get it. And the Rock doesn't catch Z-Man, so they will be okay. Someone trying to farm as much ult as possible as Aerial makes the Remarcher switch. Playstyle won't change massively. Can still play relatively aggressively. Except for Ram can be a lot more direct with the Sigma. Happy to fight him, happy to punch him in the face. Zero and Admiral are going to make this aggressive move to try and take care of the high ground. They've reset underneath him as well, so a tricky situation for the Toronto backline, but they've lost Aerial in point while this has been happening. Zero's going to come look for the trades now. Vega's making it hard. Vega gets demolished. But meanwhile, Toronto, they've just won the fight. A reasonable idea. You see it, you saw it quite a lot historically, especially maybe in like a Junker Queen meta or something where a Genji Lucio could maybe go clear a flank or clear a position for you. That's what they tried to do there, but Aerial just gets focused down on point. And meanwhile, the Toronto backline, even though Vega dies, they live long enough to buy the rest of their team the time to focus down Aerial. Now they're coming back. Ram form used early by Aerial, and they will force someone out. The slow onto him as well, but someone is fine, and now he wants to flux back. Admiral was caught in this one, does not have beat. Suzu is right, though, but no, Sugar Free wants to finish the kill. Admiral is so low, he needs help, but Z-Man's got the pocket. The Kitsune Rush allows them to live, but they can't get through this window. Aerial has to back out. They'll keep holding the high ground. Remember, the capture point is only the other side of this bridge. Letting it go underneath is going to be a huge problem for him, but Sugar Free is now edging it away. Seeker's made his way onto Hanzo as well. Ooh, catches a rail there, but we'll be okay. We see Zero now dropping to the point to match Sugar Free, and Sugar Free is going to be a constant menace. Someone even using his shield to help Sugar Free out there, and they've actually conceded the space. They've had to drop back here. Might retake it, but here's the overclock swing. Rock onto Aerial as well, forces him back. They can't go high ground. Actually, they're going to beat to keep going. Vega with the later beat. They're trying to hold on to point. Seeker's trying to find an opening, but Toronto have the high ground. Pulse Bomb is no good. They've stabilized for now, but they're playing from the low ground here. Dragon is nearly available from Seeker. The Dragon's faster now as well. Watch out. They've got themselves back on the high ground. Blade over the top. Annihilation over the top. Oh. I mean, it works. It works. They're dead. They're really dead. But they wish they only used one there, I'm sure, FMCL. I'm sure they wish they only used one. Now someone's coming back with a flux. Zero doesn't quite have Kitsune Rush yet. They have the Dragon too. So it's not a horrible, even if they overused their FMCL at the end, it's not a horrible ult situation to find themselves in afterwards. Again, they have to keep point contested. Zero and Admiral doing a lot of work there. Someone again trying to help Sugar Free force this point. The more resources they can force to cart, the easier their retake top will be. And here they come. The Dragon comes through. Someone was ready for it though. Him and Vega bait out that Dragon. Getting that one for free, Toronto. Now a Flux versus Kitsune Rush. Z-Man's going to drop it. Do they think they can disengage again? Toronto say yes. Merit's gone underneath though. Merit's a little bit split, but I don't think they can chase him. Now the Flux, they've caught them all. Does Z-Man have Suzu? No, they just about live though. FMCL have all survived. Zero's awfully split. They're chasing him down. Zero's going to die here. They're a player down, but they nearly have beat. Admiral will be desperate for this beat. As long as he can get this beat, they can stabilize. They need to keep Aerial up as well. Admiral goes for it. He's in the sky. He's going to drop a beat now. He catches everyone. Can they find anything? They're turning their attention to someone instead. They can focus him down. Someone's lived. He somehow killed Aerial. Still trying to find their way. Seeker's found 2 picks. Seeker might have done enough. Admiral just trying to help everyone, and Seeker shuts down Sugar Free as well. Ooh, it was a scary one. A scary moment for Admiral. He gets the beat off. Someone is now going Mauga. A little bit of tank, rock, paper, scissors here. Someone now thinks he has the upper hand, and I think he's right. Mauga good into the Ram. But Seeker has the Dragon. Off the back of a free K in that previous fight. Drops the Dragon now. It comes through. It splits Toronto, but can they focus anyone down? The backline is split. They're thinking about pushing them. Seeker wants to keep going. The lamp is there. The Mauga's there. The beat is there. They didn't know what they were running into. They didn't know what they were running into with the ults that Toronto had. You can't run into them, beat High Noon. They keep everything alive. And Toronto eventually have the ults to win. And we're tied up 1-1. We move on to Route 66 as the decider. It's been back and forth. A lot of Malga, a lot of Mirror, but as we hit Route 66, Toronto realise it's dive time. We've seen struggles from FMCL trying to solve this point before. Into dive as well. Into dive as well.
3, 2, 1. Attackers incoming.
So we'll see how they solve it here. It will be Lucio Ana as well. So generally speaking, the Brig's a little bit rubbish into the Malga, so the Lucio just gives you more options to move your Ana away, protect your Ana. Zero will be on Tracer for this as well. So the upside to the Lucio is it's better against the Malga. The downside is it can be a little bit harder to wrangle that Tracer. Obviously, with the help of Sugar Free, they should hopefully be able to keep Zero quite well contained. And the big problem mainly is who's going to block the nade? Not a single shield on the side of FMCL. So RuPaul has 3 nades. They have 3 engages. Obviously, the big strength of this comp is the ults from Toronto's comp. But until then, the nade is their main win condition. The nade, or if Merrick can find a face he wants to click on. Initial dive onto the high ground. Just holding his nade as well here. Patient from RuPaul. There's the nade onto the backline now. Someone can't find the follow-up though. We'll just keep point contested, but look how close this Nano is. RuPaul can keep them pocketed from the back of the map. He has a chance at a nade, can keep Merit alive through this. Looks for that nade timing. Nano 6% away. That's what we'll be waiting for. Might drop and nade him underneath. It's possible. No ults just yet. Admiral trying to mark the jump. Now here they come, looking for the nade. The nade is good. RuPaul connects. Someone will finish the job. No ults in response here, and it is an absolute bloodbath in this gas station. Couldn't find the rotation. Couldn't find the opening beforehand, and we're going to have to wait for their ults here. Beat and Kitsune rush for closest, and Ariel's going to go Winston. It feels like a mismatch. And it feels like FMCL maybe again running into problems. Solving Route 66. Nade on the choke, catches Ariel. Now, obviously, we saw RuPaul going for lots of nades onto key backline targets. Can he nade Z-Man? Can he nade Seeker? But now in this Winston mirror, the nades can be a bit more Winston focused, but maybe not. Kitsune rush on the high ground. Vega immediately dead. Ariel's going to keep going. The rest of FMCL, they need to deal with this Winston behind. Someone has Primal if he's feeling it, and he is feeling it. He's dealt with Seeker. Kiri, his next target, will breathe with RuPaul for a second. Take that little bit of extra health. Pulse bomb into the corner. Suzu is good. Ariel's going to have a hard time getting out of there, though. And someone will finish that. They'll be able to stabilize. And they even deny the trade from Zera, but a late one for Z-Man, but it's the scrap's still going on. And Toronto stabilized. 1 minute left on the clock. Ariel will jump initially for space. RuPaul back up to Nat Nano. Beats on both sides. It's going to be quite a long fight. And a chance to trade back and forth. Oh, Seeker with the opening pick again. Now all over Vega as well. Wants to make that beat hard. Vega's going to go for it, though. The nade back hits Z-Man. Z-Man's in trouble, but Admiral's got the beat to match. Keeps him alive for now. Toronto getting chased out here. They have Nano coming back, and the payload did roll back a little bit as well, so they do have a recontest here. Overclock and Nano to go with it. I mean, if I'm Toronto, I'm just Nano overclocking, I think. Even if Ariel primals, you'll delete his HP. All eyes on Merit here. They could just do it on someone to silver point out, but no, it's going to be the Nano overclock. Ariel has the primal. Ariel's going to be ignored. Merit's got eyes on the backline. They're trying to run. They're trying to hide. The booth is good, but primal comes back to peel him. They've done it. They've dealt with him. And Merit is shut down. Nano overclock, no problem. So well played. The perfect boot from Admiral. The perfect peel from Ariel later in the fight. And that puts FMCL in a position to seal it. Merritt's going to swap to Cass. Might be a Kiri coming out here from RuPaul as well, potentially. With the high ground on his second point, having something like a Kiri that can get up there herself. Very useful. And that is the swap that comes through. Ariel's going to go Mauga. Ariel says no nade, no problem. Back on the Mauga. Someone's moving up quite aggressively here. We'll force Seeker back, but only for a second. Z-Man has a Kitsune Rush. The same problem to solve for FMCL here in terms of how do they convert this into a high ground hold? How do they clear these players off it? Initially, Zera's going to set up a big flank as well. Chance to go behind, but I think Sugarfree's not marking him. Pressure on him. They come, turn their attention back towards someone. Might just drop a pulse here, but no, Primal is forced. They'll be okay, but they've lost Aerial. Now, Kitsune Rush was used as well. Not sure if it's worth committing here. They'll just die. Any trade is decent. Seeker's able to get one. Oh, Merit was so low, but Zera can't find the final blow. They managed to stabilize, and FMCL used up a lot of that time on first point, so they've only got a minute left here. Beat up soon for Vega. Kitsune Rush shortly behind from RuPaul. So support ult advantage soon enough for Toronto. Seeker's coming back with overclock. That's the go-to way to start it. Initial headshot. Who wants a Merit? Toronto are running. Boot is good from Vega. He can't. Oh, it gets hit twice. Vega is so low. He had beat as well. One more rail for Seeker as he reclaims the high ground. They do lose that fight, and they now have space here at FMCL, but they still have that double support ult to deal with. Admiral has the beat to match, but that's all they have right now. Seeker holding on to this high ground, but Cart will move. Toronto don't need to go yet. They're quite far away. They can stop point long before this. They can let the time bleed out a little bit. Someone has dropped, considering making these moves soon. We'll just go back to high ground. And Ariel's going to try and help force for point here. Sugar-Free can't really keep it contested there. They can get it at least to the next corner. But here comes the dive from someone. Suzu used early. They deal with Sugar-Free on point. But someone is still above them. They have the Kitsune Rush. They have the beat. Here it comes. They need that beat to match. Admiral gets it onto everyone. Later beat from Vega. They still need more help surviving. There is a pulse bomb in the midst here. But Zera and Ariel, they've just been demolished. Now they're low on resources, low on people. And the double support ult does its job. Limited it's a really tough one because it's limited options for FMCL. What are they going to do? Not get on the point? Slow the fight down even more? Z-Man wasn't 20% away. Maybe they could have really slowed the fight down. I know they got that pick on Sugar-Free, but maybe they could have slowed it down even more. Even more. And all of a sudden, Toronto on the front foot. You got to say they feel like they're in a good position. Expect it to be dive again. It's a little bit easier to play a Mauga version of the defense because you can get the high grounds for free, at least on first point. We'll see what their decision is here.
Ready for battle.
Toronto, at least for now, considering Winston, Anna again. It will be Mauga, Cass. It's actually going to be double hit scan coming out here. So, I mean, they can really shoot someone. The problem they're going to have is, and this is really a go-to for Toronto, it's a combo as old as time. What if I nano my Winston when he's on about 70, 80%? And then he gets Primal partway through the nano, and then he has to keep going with Primal. Makes the dive so long to peel. Makes a defensive cooldown that's so powerful, like Suzu, seem worthless because you can get chased down for so long. Really hard to deal with. Need to save a lot of cooldowns for it. And I imagine that's the way they'll want to go here. Initial peek out. Sugar-Free looking for the Widow kill, but no doing. And it will be a close hold here from FMCL. Magnetic grenade onto Aerial. Rock as well. Just Sigma Bat Cass instead. Seems to be the answer they have to the Mauga here, Toronto. Ariel's going to go for a stomp in behind. Does help set up a kill for Seeker. But the trade onto Ariel means this cart will get rolling sooner or later. Zera is still on the high ground, so they've far from solved this problem for now. Someone will rotate up. Sugar-Free should be able to help clean this one up. Zera is dancing around on point, and FMCL are making them work for this. Seeker's got another one. Someone will clean up a point now. The rest of FMCL will drop. And they'll get the early high ground. We've seen Aerial swap to Ramattra previously into the Sigma, but sticking for Mauga here. I think the Mauga's still really fine for the most part into it. We'll just run through that rock. You can't stop the Mauga once he gets going. They force someone back to the other side of his sign. He's not got a lot of support on that high ground, so he'll get cleared sooner or later. And there goes the Matrix, and someone will have to drop. They're just getting the cart moving for now. With double hit scan, marking the point is a little bit tricky, but someone's low on HB again. They're forcing him back. Shields his team out. High Noon in response from Merit. They're going to lamp it as well, but FMCL are just going to stand out of the way of that one. Toronto going to try and use that opportunity in this space to go right side and take that high ground, and FMCL now find themselves stuck underneath. They're going to get surrounded. They're going to get harassed. There's a window to come soon from RuPaul. Could just drop it straight in here. Playing it more defensive for now. They're trying to get the cart moving. Chance to drop a window. RuPaul's thinking about it. Wants to go to the high ground, actually. He's pinged where he wants the window, I think. There it is in response to the Kitsune ult. Trying to peek it back. Beat comes through. Vega still has Vivo, but Flux is going to help him. They de-peek some of it. They're still trying to disengage. Later, Beat comes through now. They are going to get stomped, but Beat help is helping. But they've lost Merit despite all that. They keep on coming. Secret Aerial die for it, though. It's a dogfight of a trade. Toronto trying to stabilize on this high ground, and Sugarfree wants to hunt down all these kills. This is what Tracer's so good at, but he's just going to leave the backline alive. Realizes he can't get the kill right now. And they will just get free on point. Admiral's going to get one touch. Susie's out. Wants to try and punish this Sugarfree. The chase is on. Admiral was getting hunted. Z-Man's with him. The backline from FMCL live. And they have kept point contested for now. It's not quite over yet as Toronto take a back step, but they deal with the Sombra swap. And now Toronto have regrouped on point. Player advantage. Aerial nearly has the cage, though. They lose Merit. Now the cage comes down. Sugarfree has to choose to commit into the cage. They want to finish it. Suzu comes through. Pulse bomb misses, actually. Sugarfree still gets the kill on Admiral. Needs to kill this cage and deal with Zero. Zero will get focused down. And Sugarfree does get the cleanup. But it wasn't comfortable. It wasn't comfortable. We'll move on. And it'll still be double hit scan here for FMCL. Kitsune Rush and Beat nearly available. Same is true, obviously, for Toronto. Toronto have a Flux over the top, though. Cage, normally one of the stronger ults. Hurts not to win that one. Tricky fight to take. Stomp onto the high ground to take it back for FMCL as the Kitsune Rush comes in. Toronto want to disengage. They want to walk away. Aerial is still coming, though. Someone is so low, they focus him down. They'll get the kill. They've got a few... Well, they've actually got almost the entire Toronto team minus someone to deal with still behind them here. And Toronto think they can live. Merit's going to go onto the high ground, but Z-Man and Admiral are there. It's a battle, but Merit's going to give them the numbers advantage. And this is the problem FMCL often run into, or any ground comp team, really. How do you fight the high ground? It's hard to get up there. Hiding in the back is easily waited out by Toronto, and now they are coming back. Double support ult advantage as well. Admiral has that beat. They need to try and disengage one of these, but the payload is getting dangerously close, and Merit's going to find the opening pick. Seeker goes in, but overclock and Beat to match it. Admiral's going to beat back, but it's only a 3-man beat. There's a pulse bomb on Aerial. Z-Man's going to get the touch, and it's just over. Such a tight back and forth series, but ultimately Route 66 proves once again to be a problem for FMCL. A difficult map for them to allow through. A hard map if you have an off-tank player in. And it causes them all those problems. Toronto, though, shown that they can bleed, right? Shown that they can bleed. You can take a look at the scoreboards here. And as much as Toronto won, and that's obviously good for Toronto and bad for FMCL, has to be said, a pretty impressive showing from FMCL. And ultimately, it was really competitive on most maps. The biggest problem they ran into was Route 66, where they weren't really able to solve the dive problem. But Route 66 is really one of the trickiest maps to play versus dive on if you're not a dive team as well. I don't know if there's a different way FMCL can go through the draft just to take Route 66 out of it. I feel like they'd surely be more comfortable playing a Shambali. Let me remind myself what the draft was for this one. Yeah, FMCL banned Junkertown. I guess also a problem You can play like a bit of dive on there, but I feel like it's easier to brawl there. Yeah. It feels like avoiding this Route 66 might really be a key for FMCL, because it's the second time they've gone to this map free and then struggled on it. At least in my memory. Can Ariel play dive tanks? He can play D.Va. He's played a little bit of Winston. I think his Doom's okay, to be honest, but the problem is in a dive, it really has to be Winston. Winston's just way better than a D.Va, way better than a Doom. So if you don't have the Winston guy, it's a real big problem on those maps. So they even need a new way to try and solve some of the problems. I mean, it did look better than their last Route 66. It was more competitive, but they still ran into a lot of the same problems. And those problems aren't, FMCL are idiots. The problems are the fundamental problems why Natcomp isn't strong on that map. The inability to deal with high ground, the inability to get out of some of these chokes. So let's take a look at the scoreboard. And yes, Nico, tomorrow there is LAN. So this is map number 1, all the way back on Oasis. If I have a functional memory, I do have a functional memory. Nice. So this is all the way back on Oasis. We see Seeker on 12 deaths, actually caught quite a lot there. Felt like Merit had a really good game. 25 and 7 seems to back that up at least a little bit. Overall, pretty competitive. Ariel actually hitting a little bit of a tank gap on someone there. Someone 24 and 9, 17k damage. Ariel 25 and 6, 20k damage. So, sorry, I'm getting distracted. Lock out of chat. Yeah, you're right, Toby. It's okay. So, yeah. A good opening map. Then we go to Midtown. And this was actually pretty one-sided, right? Seeker and Ariel struggled. I mean, the whole team high defs, honestly, from FMCL. And yeah, Merit with a 31 and 4. Someone with a 35 and 4. Good numbers. Good numbers across the board. This one was relatively dominant. And then once we get to Route 66, I imagine we'll see a lot of the same. Yeah, someone with 30 and 3. Woo. Someone did look good, to be fair. Do I think good enough to be the player of a match? It's either him or Sugarfree, right? Sugarfree had a couple of failed blades. I feel like someone was just good on all of it, right? Even the maps they were losing. Maybe the Malga looked the weakest out of someone, and maybe we'll see this come to be a factor in Dallas. But I think someone felt one of the most consistent performers. Sugarfree did have a very good game, especially on Tracer. Really looked the part. Got all those clean-up kills we're used to seeing from him. So yeah, I think someone player of the match. I think it's fair to say that the Admiral Z-Man backline from FMCL looks loads better, actually, doesn't it? Looks really, really a lot better. It seems to have upgraded this team massively. I look across the FMCL roster, and I don't really see any sort of player problems, if that makes sense. It feels like a lot more of a problems FMCL have is how to tackle certain situations. Like that Route 66 is the classic example. But I think, really, promising signs for FMCL. Again, nobody beats Toronto, right? And Matey have done it. It's literally happened once all year, so it's really not the end of the world to lose to Toronto. And I think this is, obviously, it's good that Toronto win, and they're in good form going into Dallas, etc., etc. But I think in many ways, the real story here is actually FMCL was so close. And maybe if that wasn't a dive map they were able to force, maybe Toronto would have had a little bit of a spookier time in that final map. So fair play, credit to FMCL. And the best thing about an FMCL thing is they're getting better, right? We've actually watched them in 2 similar situations, and the Route 66 was still a struggle, but it was better. FMCL are improving. I think they are trending up, and I'm excited to see more of them. For Toronto, on the other hand, I mean, they look pretty good. Interested to see now they're playing a lot of the Malga. Interesting that they also think their Sigma comp can beat the Malga. That seemed to be their go-to swap when Ariel was on it. So a lot to come, and we'll see more in Dallas, obviously, which is coming up right around the corner. So thank you very much for everyone who joined me. and I'll see you in the next one.